and welcome to Pets Deserve It. We're your hosts,
Jessica
and Dr. Megan. We're co-owners of Latah Creek Animal Hospital. We are so glad you're tuning into our podcast. Remember, new episodes drop on the first of every month. This is our podcast where we discuss stress in every episode of your pet's life. Check it out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
We have a very special guest today, Mikkel Becker.
Woo!
Welcome, Mikkel, and thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be able to talk with you both. And I love you guys. I love Latah Creek Animal Hospital. You are where I take my own dogs, all three of them. And you guys have spoiled us so much in such a great way. Like, I love that the dogs like literally pull me to go into the hospital. And normally as a dog trainer, you don't always want your dogs pulling, but I love it in that situation because I love that that's where they want to be and they remember it in such a good way. And even things like after Stitch's neuter that he had there, he still is happy to go back. And so many dogs don't have that experience. And that's what makes Fear Free so amazing. And what you do there at Latah Creek with Fear Free is so cool. So I am one of your biggest fans, and it's such an honor to be able to talk with you today.
Yay. So Mikkel is the daughter of the one and only Dr. Marty Becker.
She's Fear Free royalty.
Fear Free princess.
Oh, thank you. I feel very honored. I call Megan the Fear Free queen, right? And then I would say that Jessica's the Fear Free goddess. So we all have our own nice little titles.
I like that.
I never thought I would be a goddess.
Very nice.
I love that. Mikkel is a Fear Free certified trainer.
That training program is a banger.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorites.
Thank you.
So Mikkel, do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got started with Fear Free and where you're at now with it?
Absolutely. So I went to school for broadcast journalism. I really wanted to be the next Diane Sawyer. Like in my yearbook, that's what I have down. And just going to college at Washington State University, I loved what I did there, but also it was like starting to be the time when everything was starting to be syndicated and things were changing. And I was still passionate about it, but it was kind of crazy. It was just like this thing of fate where I grew up watching Diane Sawyer on Good Morning America, literally my hero. And one time we were there for the 30th anniversary of Good Morning America. And the day before my dad had been on the show, and I had Diane sign this shirt for me that said the next Diane Sawyer. And the next day we're at that party and she rolls in and like there's like Larry King there and Barbara Walters, all these people that like were like, you know, the people. And it was just like Dad and I were just nobody's there watching. And Diane comes in and where does she go? But she comes right up to Dad and I, like there at the bar. And I just thought she was like, you know, really wanting a drink or something, which I wouldn't blame her. But instead, she goes really close up right next to me on my left side. And she's like, Mikkel, I've been thinking about this. And she's like, you need to do something else. She's like, you're too nice for this business. It's dog eat dog. It's really cutthroat and you're a really nice person. And I don't want to see you go down this road. And so do something else. And so that advice hit really hard because of all people that could have like swayed my opinion on broadcasting, which even my professors at the time were like, you know, guys, maybe you should think about something else. When Diane said it, I was like, wow, this is really crazy. Like, is this real? And, you know, sure enough, like I thought about it and I thought, well, you know, maybe I'll just get something intercultural communications because I love travel and different cultures. And so I ended up doing that. And then it was like after I graduated, I'm like, what do I do with this? And my dad was like, you know, Kelly, you have always loved animals. You should do something with animals. Like you love training your own pets. You train your own horses and dogs. Like, why didn't you go into animal training? And so sure enough, I started to go down the path of animal training and it also looking at the veterinary side. So starting to do some veterinary assisting in the hospitals, and that's all pre-Fear Free. So I remember what it was like pre-Fear Free and also knowing better as a trainer, but being told, oh, this is the way that you do things. So being instructed, but then also knowing, gosh, I can tell this is like really distressing to the dogs, to the cats, to the people, and to me. And so I know that experience. And I just one day my dad called me and I was there at North Idaho Animal Hospital and I was assisting that day, and that day was one of the days that I actually was instructed to, you know, on how to hold a dog for a procedure, and the dog was very unhappy. And I was like, gosh, this is really stressful. I'm really unhappy. And Dad started to talk to me about this thing called fear free. And there's this idea that he had after being in this talk with Karen Overall, a veterinary behaviorist, and how she said that fear is one of the worst things a social species can experience, and fear causes permanent damage to the brain. And for him, it really hit him that veterinarians are causing a severe psychological damage by trying to help these pets. Sometimes we can actually hurt them. And so that just really impacted him. And he's like, we have to do something about this. And, that's the start of Fear Free. And the evolution of it is, lots of veterinary behaviorists and different trainers and veterinarians and these experts from all over the world later that have helped to create the Fear Free program later. And now, like, having these different certifications, not only in the veterinary realm for veterinary professionals, now certified veterinary practices like you guys are at Latah Creek Animal Hospital, also groomer certification, trainer certification, pet sitter, doggy daycare, pet sitting. Like, it's really cool. It's this whole ecosystem of being able to help pets. And so that's where I'm really grateful that Diane gave me that advice early on and swayed me away from broadcast journalism, and that my career has taken me where it's at now, because I feel like we are doing a lot of good in this world through Fear Free.
And you still get to do, not just our little podcast, but you get to use all of your broadcast experience and background to do, Facebook Live and just all of the different things you do to get Fear Free out there, media appearances, and that really helps spread the word on Fear Free.
Thanks, you guys. Oh, I love it. It's like I could speak it all day, like literally.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah.
That's where
I know, you guys. That's why every time I talk to you guys, oh gosh, you guys are like, that's the cool thing about podcasts, is it's just, you can do it as you are. And I love how you guys already banter so well together and with other people. And like you said, you can talk Fear Free all day, every day. So you guys have the perfect setup for the perfect podcast. And, it just feels like I'm talking to my friends, because I am.
Because you are the goddess, the princess, and the queen. Should we change the name of the podcast?
I actually really like that. That's a great idea.
I really like that too.
So, Mikkel, we'd love to get your perspective on the things that we talked about in our first 3 episodes of the podcast.
Because reading between the lines, that means we'd like to have you back every few episodes to give your perspective on things.
So we have these series on our Instagram that we started with Fear Free 101, 201, 301. Now we're into the 401. Obviously, we're getting very advanced now, but we don't want to forget that there's a lot of people in the field and out of the field, pet owners, that don't understand what this is all about. So the goal of the podcast was to start really, really basic at Fear Free 101. And so we'll kind of go through each of the 3 and get your input on them.
That sounds awesome.
All right. First of all, you already sort of led into this. We want to talk about how fear, anxiety, and stress impact pets' health. And you already said it. I mean, fear causes permanent damage to the brain, I think both short-term and long-term. You want to just talk about that a little bit, because we hear a lot, well, it's just a second. Can we just do this because it just takes a second? And the thing we do just takes a second, but not the effects.
Yes. My mind always goes to this saying that's just get it done doesn't work in the long run. Because what you end up doing is by causing this extreme fear and stress and just getting it done, we actually are causing this pet to have a permanent memory, because the those fear evoking memories, those are just like immediate, and the pet just immediately reverts back to that. And it's like almost like how we can have like 100 really good experiences, but then you have that one really negative experience, and that's one that stands out. Or, whether it's like public speaking, or, people that comment and like, I think everyone has that comment that a grade school kid maybe said to you when you were a little kid. And I remember like wanting to play with some kids and going up one time, and I was probably preschool. And I was like, hey, what are you guys playing? And they're like, 101 Dalmatians. And I'm like, can I play? They're like, yeah, you can be Rolly. And I was a chubby kid. So yeah, it really hurt. And now I love Rolly and I take it as a, whatever. But at the time, that was very hurtful. And, and that's one of those things that makes you kind of think again, like, do I want to go ask people to play? Like, do I want to put myself out there? And it's the same thing with dogs. It's like those negative experiences really stand out. Like those dogs that have had 100 really great walks, but they have that one walk where a dog off leash runs up to them and scares the bejeebers out of them. And now all of a sudden they're reactive and they're barking on leash on walks and they're really hyper vigilant. It's the same thing with veterinary care. So we really want to safeguard their entire experience. And for me, that's why I also am a huge advocate for not just veterinary care, but also grooming and any interaction your pet is having. You want to be sure that those are positive interactions and that you're not regressing because or leading them down a bad path, because just those negative experiences are very lasting. And one thing that I think is really cool in your hospital is that you do have your room set up differently. So if a pet ever does have a negative experience for whatever reason, unforeseen, sometimes like something like, say, a spray can of cheese, sometimes they can make a sound and it's scary to a really sensitive dog. Well, or a really sensitive cat, well, maybe we're going to go in a different room the next time. Mm-hmm. So, and they look different enough. And that was one thing that Temple Grandin really advocates, is having the room set up different enough that they look different and they can feel different for that pet. So one room isn't one and the same and the pet looks at them all the same way. They're different looking enough that okay, even if they had a negative experience in one room, they can have more of a fresh start in another room. And I think that that's a really great thing because, as best we can, we try and prevent fear. And that's the goal of Fear Free is to keep pets free from fear. But sometimes things inevitably happen, like maybe they get a poke that just hits them in a sensitive spot, or they like that spray can of cheese makes a weird sound. Or I've had dogs before that sometimes I didn't know, and they have an unknown history, they're afraid of squeaker toys, and so the squeak of a toy absolutely terrifies them and causes them to regress. So sometimes things inevitably happen, and that's just life. So it doesn't mean that we can't bounce back, but Fear Free is really all about helping to reduce that risk of fear, anxiety, and stress from happening in the first place. And when it does happen, there are so many things that we can do to help these pets, as you guys know, because you take in a lot of pets that have that history of being absolutely terrified of going to the vet. And a lot of times people can't put hands on a lot of the pets you guys are working with, which is so incredible. You're doing what you're doing.
I think what's really hard is that as an industry, we have spent so many years just getting it done that that's what the pet parent thinks is the standard. And so we have a hard time getting through to the pet owner just how detrimental the stress can be. And so it kind of feels like, well, we are trying to dig ourselves out of a hole as far as educating clients, because we will explain to clients the stress and they're like, yeah, but it'll take you 30 seconds. So I'm going to have to find a vet that will just hold them down. And still, like as recent as probably last week.
Yeah,
and we know like that comes from a place of not being educated or understanding. And then if they come here, well, who are we? Because now we do something that most see as so extreme and so far out there that it's not the norm. So then they go to another clinic and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is more normal. We're going to be held down a little bit. We're going to be forced a little bit. I feel okay about this. And just our mission right now seems to be really trying to educate the clients that this is very traumatizing. Do you have any advice about that? Any words of wisdom for the pet parent?
Absolutely. So, every experience is a learning experience, and every interaction that we have with them, we're training them, whether intended or not. And what we want to do is we want to train that dog, that cat, that handling is fun. Handling means good things happen. And on the other hand, if we're teaching them handling is scary, someone approaching them means something scary is going to happen, it doesn't only just translate to, okay, the vet office is where that happens. A lot of times those pets and those fears, it can go into other situations as well, where the pet becomes really wary of people approaching in the home. And there was a study that actually looked at people that scold their pets for handling, or scolding them for, if the pet is struggling or squirming away when they're trying to do their nails, for instance, and they scold that pet, it actually increases that pet's risk of aggression at the veterinary hospital. So a completely different situation, but that pet translates. Handling is scary. Handling means bad things happen. And so what happens a lot of times is, yeah, but in the short terms, yeah, you can get that done. But long term, it's going to become even more difficult, even more challenging. And a lot of times that's where it's going to take even more people to hold down that animal. It's going to take even more medications or sedation, and which can be, you're adding on an even higher price ultimately, and an even higher risk by doing it that way, versus like if we can just keep that pet calm and keep them relaxed, you're going to help them long term for the rest of their life to have an easier experience with veterinary care, and not just veterinary care, but handling at home, their interactions with different people, and you're going to have a safer, happier, healthier pet ultimately by doing it the right way.
And that's exactly what we talked about in the second episode with body language. But, we don't have to go through all the signals again, but really the big important part of that was what happens when you ignore their signals and push them, and they think, and you just said it, they think, well, gosh, nobody's listening to me. So I have to escalate up that ladder to get them to stop this thing that I feel like is trying to kill me.
Yes. Right. So that leads us into episode 2. Which is about body language and recognizing the subtle signs. And they don't know that they've already pushed the dog if they don't understand the body language and the signs that they're seeing.
And what that means to, basically make them get not aggressive, but show aggressive behaviors. Because they feel like they don't have a choice. They think this is a big threat, so I have to get it to stop. And then eventually you bite someone, it's probably going to stop. But there were 8 to 15 little signals that you ignored before that.
Right, he bit me out of nowhere is not a thing.
Did he?
And a lot of people don't understand that there's all these subtle body languages. We find probably the most difficult for us here is FAS3. Because we're more frozen, we're just standing there, we're fine. So, the client, that's what the client sees. Well, they're just standing there. But then they have a heart. But then, we go through and explain to them each of the different things that are actually happening. But to an uneducated eye of a pet parent, it looks like they're just standing there. And so it is hard for the pet parents to understand that. And us too, like that's been probably our biggest challenge that's been our biggest challenge with the clients is the FAS3s actually are very, very scared, even though they're just standing there and doing nothing.
And refusing to basically give, a vaccine or trim nails or what have you to a dog who is genuinely just standing there. But internally, there's a lot more going on than that. Internally,
absolutely.
We're escalating, but I mean, it's true. I could trim his nails. I mean, he isn't going to move this time. I don't know what's going to happen 5 nail trims from now. And just, it's kind of the opposite of building resilience. It's like each time they get more ready to escalate because you didn't listen to them. But, on the flip side of that, seeing the resilience you can build by listening to their signals, respecting things that scare them. And then when you do have to do something like, okay, you got hurt and I have to give you this injection to sedate you so you can be fear-free and sleep through the rest of it. They're usually okay. Or you hit that ouchie spot one time, they usually forgive you because you had 500 instances where you did respect them and you didn't hurt them. And then they're like, ow, and you stop and like, oh, okay, you're still cool. You're still listening to me. I'm okay with it this time.
Yes, absolutely. And literally every experience is an opportunity to build a positive experience and build that trust, or it's unfortunately also an opportunity to build some scary memories and build more avoidance, or rather than avoidance, the pet may learn avoidance doesn't work. And so those pets at that FAS level 3, so we have that FAS level 1, which is the relaxed pet, all the way up to the level 5, which is the pet that's having to use aggression to get their point across that, hey, I do not feel safe and I have to do something about it. And that's the pet that as my friend Debbie Martin says, it's just the pet that's taken a self-defense course that they've gone through, and they've learned how, okay, rather, like, people don't listen to me when I try and avoid or I just ignore, like, they don't listen and that bad stuff still happens. So I'm going to have to start speaking up for myself. And And they learn like that's the only thing that works, and they go more immediately to that rather than doing ample warnings and warning. And a lot of times those pets will learn like, oh my gosh, I feel so unsafe, and their brain just automatically reverts to danger, danger, danger. And a lot of times that's where they react without even thinking. And I would say like for myself, honestly, like being in bad relationships in the past, and in those situations, like there are certain things that I notice I'm triggered on that like I immediately, and I'm not a physical fighter by any means, but automatically I go into that defensive mode where I'm just like, there are those certain things that people can say that automatically get you in that state. Like if I feel like someone's gaslighting me or they're manipulating or, blaming, like it's different, but also the same. Like we can learn through our experiences, whether we feel safe in that situation and we can remain open and trusting and comfortable, or we put up our defenses, we put up those walls, and sometimes we even kind of go on the offensive. And, what we really want is we want a pet that wants to be with us, that trusts us, that engages with us voluntarily versus they do it because they have to do it, and they do it because they're afraid, they're intimidated, they're scared. And that's a totally different feeling between the two. And and I think of that even like it reminds me of relationships. When you have a good relationship with someone and it is built on trust and it is built on that relationship versus it's built on, I do this because I have to do this. I do this because I'm avoiding that negative. And that's an entirely different conversation, an entirely different feeling between the two. And who does that pet really want to be with? They want to be with that person that they trust, that person that they're comfortable with, the person that encourages them. And it's the same thing with people. Like we are so similar to animals. And so I just always go back to that feeling. How do we want our pets to feel? How do we feel about them? How do we want them to feel about us? Like that trust, that bond, we want to really build that rather than damage it and leave it in a state of disrepair, which can happen when we force our way through that fear and just do it in the name of getting stuff done. It literally doesn't work in the long run.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there that think these dogs act like this at the vet clinic. They're just a bad dog. They should be euthanized. They should be, XYZ, whatever. We have one particular dog who we put a post on Instagram and TikTok about Bowser, and it actually went viral on TikTok. It has like 70,000 views. And it was a really good video of him being like, we were very, very proud of the video and the fact that he got care. When you watch the video, you can tell that he's FAS 5 and you can tell that our team does a really good job with him. But some of the comments were, should this dog even be alive? Should this dog looks too dangerous to handle? Why would anyone keep this dog? But I think what people don't understand is he's been triggered so much at the vet clinic. This is him at the vet clinic. Sure, there's things they have to manage at home, but he's a great family dog for them. I know that's an extreme case, but he has so many things have stacked up on him that he doesn't know what else to do when he gets here. But outside of here, and people have a hard time understanding that sometimes dogs, like how could he act so differently in the vet and at home? Well, because of the way we historically have treated pets. Nobody intentionally wants to hurt pets. We know that. We don't. We have all been in the field for a long time, and we all were participating in that, whether we liked it or not, yourself included. And I think people don't realize that sometimes that's just how they act only here. Clients are apologizing. Oh my gosh, he's never acted like this. And it is like, no, that's okay. I think what's happening is we're actually pointing out signs to you for you to recognize. And now you're recognizing that they actually are very stressed.
I also think on our end, it takes a lot more strength to say like, yeah, I used to hold dogs down and that wasn't amazing. And I did cause them stress. And now I'm going to do better versus not wanting to face that you did something that now looking back wasn't amazing. Not that we knew better at the time, but I think it's a little bit easier to double down and stick your head in the sand and say, no, it's fine, they're fine, than to say, you know what, yeah, we could do better. And that's okay that we held them down in the past. I mean, it's not okay to keep doing it, but what are you going to do about that? We didn't know better.
Right.
And now we do. Yes. And that makes me feel better than sticking my head in the sand. But I know it's also harder to say like, yep, you know what? In the past, I probably did some things that now I know were not amazing.
I feel
So,
like that's such a sign of growth, right? Like just being
Mhm.
able to admit like, hey, I did this, or and if we don't admit it, yeah, we don't have the power to change. We don't have that power to grow. And once you know better, you can do better. And but also like I feel like that's the thing with Fear Free is helping to alleviate some of that pressure that we can put on ourselves of like we have to get it all right at the start. And I think you guys are really good about advocating that just starting to incorporate little things a little bit at a time, which is such, I mean, that's like shaping our own behavior, just the way that you would train a dog or a cat or a pig. It's little baby steps towards that final goal. And we can do the same thing with ourselves. Like for myself, for instance, speaking of being in relationships, I don't know how this is turned into a counseling session, but I guess it is.
Fear Free
So
always
here
does.
we
Like if there's
go. Yeah.
we love it.
No, no, it's like it's funny because it's like I come from a family that like my dad always taught me to stand up for myself and to be a strong woman. But it's just like when you get in those relationships and little by little it starts to get worse. It's very gradual, kind of that downward slide. And so, I found myself in a relationship, where I was like, how did I even get here? And I realized like I was not asserting myself at all. And I was like, just in this kind of, state where the real me was just so hidden. And, to get out of that, I mean, it was like literally little by little and learning to be assertive a little bit at a time and giving myself grace. I feel like that's the big thing is like giving ourselves grace and doing it one step at a time and having those encouraging voices around us and that support. And so even for those that are working in a veterinary hospital, or maybe you're visiting a hospital with your pet and you're searching for someone that's fear-free certified or fear-free certified practice, but you haven't found one yet, one little baby step at a time. So being able to find that support outside too that you need. So Latah Creek, I mean, you guys are amazing about being a really supportive, encouraging voice. So even if you're having to find it outside of that hospital, finding those resources to help you and to help your pet and to encourage yourself and just little tiny steps, like for instance looking at something like, hey, let's start with non-slip surfaces in our hospital. Let's start by adding in more treats, like easily accessible treats. And so I know that the first time when I went to meet you guys, actually, and this is in your other hospital, which also shows, hey, you can do fear free anywhere, because that hospital
Anywhere.
is super tiny, super tiny. And I went in there with my own little treat caddy, of all my assortment of treats. And as a pet owner or as a technician, that's one little thing that you can do that really can pay off in really big ways is, just being able to have like your own little toolbox, having that non-slip surface that you take with you, having that little snackle box of treats that you have at your side. So, that like those two little things can be a really great way to just start to have a different perspective of, okay, I'm going to give this pet somewhere stable and safe to stand on where they don't feel like they're going to fall, which automatically elevates that FAS, that fear, anxiety, and stress level for that pet. Instead, we're giving them somewhere where they're not going to slip, that's stable, and we're going to give them some treats that they really enjoy. And maybe for those more stressful situations, like having handling in an area like, for instance, like their ear, if they have an ear infection, it might be a little sensitive, a little sore. And so we're going to use an even higher value treat when we examine around that area. And we're going to save that for last. We're going to do the easy stuff first. We're going to save that for last. Like those little tiny things can make a really, really big difference. And, it's just a little bit at a time. And so I think that having that encouragement for ourselves and not feeling like we have to do it everything at once and do it perfectly, because life is a journey. I feel like, 10 years from now, we're going to be looking back on what we're doing now and be like, gosh, I wish I would have known, this at that point in time. And you just do the best that you can with what you have. And I think that that's a really great way to look at it is to just give yourself grace and to be there with that pet and really attend to their needs and to that human guardian's needs in that moment. Because I think sometimes we get so busy, so caught up. And I love that you guys are that way in terms of you just really meet them on their level and really listen to them. And when we're listening to pets, it's, as you mentioned, attending to their body language, seeing what do they need in that moment. And for that pet that is starting to get really still and really quiet when maybe that's like totally not how they normally would be, it's like, okay, let's see, what do you need here? Maybe it's a little bit of movement. You guys do a lot of those find it treat finding games where you're tossing out the treat for them to find, and you're seeing, are they approaching back up to come get another treat or to interact, or are they hanging back? Are they hiding? Are they going towards the door? Like, we can listen to pets in that way, and we can make adjustments to help them feel more comfortable and safe, because the last thing we want to do is create a scary situation that really hinders that trust. Instead, if we just take that little bit of time at the forefront, a lot of times that's going to make it actually go faster in the long run. And that pet is going to be far more successful. We're going to be far more successful and safe with that pet. So that little bit of time investment really is absolutely worth it 100%.
And same for clients, taking that, we have a lot of clients whose first visit needs to be completely hands off so that we can have a positive visit, prescribe medications, have them come back, investing that, 30 minutes to be here and not actually have an exam done necessarily, not a full head to toe one, or, needing to come back for certain parts of it. Investing that time does save them a lot of time in the long run.
Yes, I love that.
So where does Fear Free actually begin?
Can I guess?
Yes.
Does Mikkel want to guess? Because it wouldn't be a guess for me. It's not, I just got excited because I thought we were playing a game, but.
So where does Fear Free actually begin?
In the home.
Yes.
Did I get that right? Yeah, okay, yes.
There'll be no
yes.
part of the podcast. So you can see that was real.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It does. It begins in the home. And, like, for instance, a lot of times people, and I know that I'm sure you get this all the time, it's really difficult for the person to get their cat into the vet because as soon as the carrier comes out, the cat goes away. The cat is immediately going into the other room. They're going to hide under the bed. And typically in those situations, people will do things like, I'm going to have to pull the cat out from under the bed, or I'm going to have to trap him in the bathroom and get them in the corner. And, versus like, hey, let's actually like just do a little bit of work on the front end. And it doesn't take a lot. Like sometimes it can literally happen in 10 minutes so we can turn that carrier into a fun place to be. And for other cats that are more sensitive, it may take a period of several days, sometimes a couple of weeks, and that's okay. Little by little, we can get them more comfortable with that. And just by helping them to feel more comfortable with that carrier or with that crate or with going in the car or even just pulling up in the parking lot and making that a fun place to be, it's going to make that pet far more relaxed, because otherwise what happens is that fear, anxiety, and stress has already started to escalate in that pet. They're already in that survival-like state. And let me tell you, that survival-like state is not a fun place to be. It's an awful place to be. And everything that you encounter in that situation can feel like a danger. Like, I guess speaking back to my own psychological well-being again, but I used to have a horrible phobia of flying on an airplane, like so bad that I would freak out months before I knew I had to fly. And this is like, and it doesn't make sense because I grew up flying and traveling, but it's just, for whatever reason, it was scary to me, and it kind of became a trigger. But when I was on the airplane, like, I didn't want to eat. And that's how a lot of those pets are when they're in that high stress state. You can't eat because your body is in survival state. Like the digestion, your appetite goes away. Or those pets may become really snatchy with treats, and like kind of like for me, like it's like I might have a little bit of a drink, but I'm like just like snapping, like just like startling so easy. And those things that aren't threats, like just like natural little bumps in the air, to me it was like, oh my God, we're going down, like immediately, like and that's exactly what it is for those pets. It's like those things that are benign, that are not a big deal, and it's just like normal everyday interactions, like just movement or just the gentle touching. It's like, oh, if that pet's in that survival state, everything seems really scary to them. And so what we have to do is get them in a better state of mind that they can learn that, hey, like people are good, like handling actually can be full of good things happening, and you get really good things here. And sometimes that can take some calming medication, some calming supplements, getting them in a better state of mind. For me, it was definitely having a calming medication on board really helped a lot, because before that, my mind was just like, I just was not in the state where I could relax. And, having a medication that can help your brain get in a better place to like learn something completely different. Now I travel like not a big deal. Like it's really cool. Like where I have no qualms about it. And it's like I don't need medications or anything like that now, but it did take me time, and it took other things too, not just medications, but also like thinking about what I thought about and having better thoughts. And and it's like the same thing with pets. Like we can get it to where it becomes a no-brainer for them that like, oh, this is a place where I feel safe, I'm happy, I'm comfortable. But it takes a little bit of work, and especially if they are in that survival-like state, that's where it really takes like a different type of approach, just like you did with that dog you mentioned that had that really negative experience of going to the vet. That's where we really just approach it differently to help them feel comfortable, to help them have a different experience, and get them out of that state of fight or flight where they just literally are just in that reactionary state of mind versus like intentional and actually able to learn and be receptive to those positives that we do employ throughout the visit during Fear Free.
And medication can be so important for that exact reason that you said you probably went on hundreds of flights in that time, but you couldn't learn that. You couldn't learn that it didn't matter how many hundreds of times you were safe because your brain still perceived danger. And
yes,
that is just you just can't learn. That's actually the analogy my mentor used is you can't take a math test on a crashing plane. And even though it wasn't crashing, your brain thought it was. Any minute now, it's going to be going down.
Yes. And it's like, and it's not rational. It doesn't make sense. Like when people would say, oh gosh, like plane travel is so much safer than driving in a car. And, and it's the same thing with our pets. We think, oh, why are you so afraid of a nail trim? Like we're not, this isn't going to kill you, but to the pet, oh, 100% that's going to kill them. In their mind, like this is terrifying. This is danger. This is like life or death. And that's where, like you said, like getting them in a better state of mind, and we're going to break it down and make it easy. And maybe we're not going to go on the airplane right away. We're going to, we're just going to give you treats just for looking at the airplane, looking at the nail clippers, like helping them approach it, have some control over that situation. That can make a huge, huge difference too.
So we know that getting the cat used to the carrier and making that a safe space in the home is really, 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 really important for cats. Do you have any tips on things that clients could do at home or pet parents could do at home for their dogs to start getting them ready for the vet?
Absolutely. So definitely getting them comfortable with being touched is a big one. And one behavior that I really like is using a communication cue or a predictor cue. So just saying a word like pet and then touching the animal in an area that they're comfortable with and giving them a treat. And then we're going to say pet and we're going to touch that animal in a different area and we're going to give them a treat. And so we start off in those areas the pet is comfortable with the people they're comfortable with. And then we start to move to maybe a little bit more of a sensitive area, like maybe going from their shoulder, we're going to slide down the leg towards that paw and we're giving it a treat. And eventually we can translate that to the veterinary situation. So we can say the word pet and use it with other people. They get like the tasty treats, or for some pets that really love play, they get that opportunity to play. And so it really becomes this easy kind of transition in a way because the pet knows, oh, they're doing that game. They're saying that word, that pet or that touch. And that means treats. That means good things happen. Like, oh, I know this. Okay, this is familiar. This is comfortable. We're speaking the same language here. So I really, really like that. And the other one is also getting them where they can go up and go say hi and approach someone. So doing something like teaching them a touch. So teaching them to touch their nose to an object or to a hand. That can be really helpful for teaching them to go up and approach someone or approach something. And with that too, a behavior called check. So check is where they learn to touch their nose to something unfamiliar. So that could be like a stethoscope or a person's shoe or things like that. And eventually that can translate to other things too. Like it can translate to the nail clippers or, them investigating a new bottle of medication that's going to be used. So you turn it into a game and it helps to change that mindset from like, oh my gosh, scary object. I don't know what that means to, oh, there's a new object or a novel object. That means we're going to play that check game. And so you turn it into something fun. And for those pets that are especially sensitive to being touched, another one that I really like that can go from the touch where they touch your nose to something to them actually being touch and pet in other areas of their body. Because sometimes that transition from, okay, I approach and I touch my nose to something to, okay, hands are coming at me. Sometimes the pet cue for them can be a lot. So the hands reach and they're like, I still am not comfortable with this. One of my favorite games to do is to teach them a behavior called hug or loves. And that's where you teach them to actually target their chest to your hand. And so it becomes a behavior of we say loves or we say hugs, and the pet learns to touch their body to your hand, and then they're getting a treat, and they're getting a treat for staying there. And then we can start to transition pet, and we can start to move to other areas of their body. But they get that control over that approach and that touch, and that makes a really, really big difference because everybody likes to have some idea of what's going to happen, to have some semblance of control. And it's not just for people, it's for pets too. So that hug behavior is probably one of my favorites for that reason.
I like that.
Yeah, see, we learn new things every day.
Yeah.
That's a new one. I really like that.
Well, I think it's time to wrap this one up because it's almost time.
I feel like I could do this all day.
I know. Mikkel, do you have any final? We do. So it's getting about that time that we need to end the podcast for now, not forever. Do you have any final thoughts?
I just love you guys. I love what you're doing there at Fear Free, and it's such a joy. And, I think for all of us, and with our pets is just, meet yourself where you're at, meet your pet where they're at, and the animals that you're interacting with where they're at. And, just being able to give ourselves grace, give our pets grace, and being able to build that trust with ourselves, with our pets. And that's really what Fear Free is all about, and building that trust with clients. I mean, Fear Free is literally rooted in trust. And so I love that it is such a feel-good confidence booster, not only for animals, but also for the people that are doing Fear Free or that get to experience Fear Free for their pets or in their work. It's a really amazing thing, and makes me really happy to talk about it. And it's just such a gift to be able to talk with both of you.
Hey, thank you so much.
You're the best, Mikkel.
Oh, I love you ladies.
Or how do the kids do it these days?
I don't know, something goofy.
Something weird like
I
think it's that.
I don't know how they do it, but
you know what?
I can do that.
Swift does it, so that's the correct way to do it, in my opinion.
That is definitely, yes.
And we do have a lot of resources out there. We try to help other clinics, other clients of other clinics. So if you want to know how your clinic stands up to Fear Free, head over to our YouTube page and do something. What do we do over there? Head over to our YouTube page and subscribe to our email list. We've got some great stuff coming for you there.
Oh, this is going good.
It's gonna fall apart.
Okay, so you want to
try it again?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you were taking over because
go
I
ahead.
fucked it up so bad.
Okay.
Want to know how your clinic stands up to Fear Free? Head on over to our YouTube page and subscribe to our email list to receive the Fear Free 101 guide.
Nope.
That's what it says.
So we have a lot of Fear Free resources. You can head over to YouTube, and we have a couple. Okay, let's see. We have lots of Fear Free resources. Mikkel, I'm so glad you get to be here for this.
Yeah, you can log off if you want. This could take a minute.
We have lots of Fear Free resources available to other vet clinics and pet parents. You can head over to YouTube. We have videos. We have our podcast. We have resources. One is the Fear Free 101 checklist. It will help get you started on your Fear Free journey with your pet. And we also have a Fear Free benchmark, and that is something that you could take to your vet clinic to see how your vet clinic stacks up. And depending on how they stack up, it could be time to have a conversation with your vet clinic to see if there are some things that they could add into what they're doing daily at their clinic, or gives you some ideas on how you could best advocate for your pet when going to your vet. We're very, very big on loyalty. We understand that you create a relationship with your vet. That's what we want as well. So if we can help you and your vet clinic learn how to do some of these things so that your pet can be happy there, we want to be able to do that.
Mikkel can be found on all social media platforms. The links will be in the show notes. So that's it for this month.
You can find us on all social media platforms at Latah Creek AH, where we have a lot of fear-free resources available to you.
And those links will be in the show notes as well.
There'll be a lot of links in the show notes.
Lots of stuff in the show notes, including where you can find Mikkel. You know what? Search Mikkel Becker. You'll find her. She's famous. You know what? This is This is an editing podcast lesson for you kids from your local experts. When don't have a script.
I told
Keep it tight.
You become a servant to the script. The scripts are not good.
I feel like there's no editing in the middle of this, basically at all. And hella editing at the beginning.
We can't say hello or goodbye.
Or like our names, where we work, what we do is hard. It's hard.
Latah Creek
It is hard.
Hospital, Spokane's premier fear-free certified practice.
Show off.
The scripts are bad. I tried to tell you. We got ourselves attached to scripts, and we are attached to scripts.
Yeah, and then I spent a whole 2 weeks in my head being like, Jessica can use a script, but she won't let me use a script. But she was actually trying to help me.
I was trying to help you not
You
use
were
a
trying
script.
to help me.
I think you guys should actually keep in some of your banter and the funny stuff, because I think people would really like it, honestly.
Yep. We're told that people like it, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give the people
I
what
like
they
it.
want.
Yeah,
They want
it's
us
great.
us bantering.
You guys are keeping it real. That's what you got to do, right?
It's been a journey.
It has.
It's been a journey, and as far as
4-episode journey of podcasting experience.
Our podcasts do air on the first of every month, while we can keep it together.
Oh, it's airing. It's airing. I will stay up all night if I have to.
We make no promises on what airs.
Well, exactly. Something's going to get out
Something
there.
will be out there.
Maybe
And
just the raw footage.
Mikkel has joined the efforts.
Yes, I have, and I had a great time.
Okay.
Good. I hope that you mean that, because we will be asking you to do this again probably in a couple months.
And it will be just.
Oh, I'm down. Anytime. Like, literally, I love it. It's great.
Yeah, Mikkel's like, wait till you see the edited one. Oh, it's going to be a lot like this one.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I love it. I love how you guys are. Authentic and real.
Well, we love you. We love Fear Free. We love everything about it. We have done everything we can to bring that into our universe. It now is us. And we will be back again next month.
With
Yay.
more of this finely planned content for you.
Yep. Okay, well, thank you, Mikkel.
Thank
we
you,
appreciate
Mikkel.
your time.
Yes. Love you guys, and keep it
Love
forever
you.
fear free.
Bye.
Bye.